Journos here, St James's Park. You can see director's box backdrop today for you guys as the pitch gets rejuvenated with the lights, and you might sort of hear tractors in and out. Right, tough one, another tough one in St James's Park. I can't take credit for this stat, but Dom, that was second home defeat, first time ever.
It's the first time Newcastle have lost back-to-back games at St James's Park under Eddie Howe, which sums up the day, and it very nearly wasn't, but same old story, late goals under Newcastle again, and same old frustrations really, despite an improved performance.
So that's what I'm going to say. I'm sure we'll all have our own opinions on this. Feel free to disagree, lads, if you think, but I'm just going to shoot mine out there now. I think there was a lot more to like in that performance today than I've seen from Newcastle United in 6 weeks. I would argue that was a much better performance than what we've seen at Sunderland. Very different circumstances, of course, but there was much more today, particularly in that first 45, than I've seen for a long time from Newcastle United. I liked a lot about it. I think we've seen the press, the zip, the battle from the middle, a back five, in my opinion, that outshone anything today. I thought Sven Botman was his absolute best performance I've seen from him since he come back from injury. Two fullbacks, Kieran Trippier. Look, I did live before. People coming in the comments complaining about the last goal. I'm certainly not going to take anything off Kieran Trippier for that. I thought he was outstanding in both halves for Newcastle United. And look, got done by a goal right at the end, but he really wasn't to blame for a defeat today, and that's fair to say. He has been for certain games this season, but that's not on him today. I thought Bruyne was solid. I thought Fabian Schär paid tribute for more flags at the Gallagher, and I thought he was excellent again today. As these lads will attest, I don't often get too excited in a press box, do I?
Do you not?
Maybe I do, but
usually
wow.
Angry, but
wow, look, it wasn't a positive result, a positive day. I think you'll go a long way to see a better, more well-rounded goal than Newcastle's equaliser today. I thought like Fabian Schär kicked it off with an immense tackle and composure, and then to play it inside to Bruno, then a first-time pass, and then that finish from Isak. Just, you might have heard me actually here. I think I was just top of my voice shouting class, wasn't at certain points. But no, I think there was a lot to like about that performance, a lot to dislike about the result, and the manner in which Newcastle United just haven't got that ability to compete really in the closing stages of games. 60 minutes, it was crying today, crying out for fresh legs. There just isn't the fresh legs, quality of fresh legs on the bench. And Man City call on Kevin De Bruyne, who in my opinion is the best attacking midfielder we've seen in world football in a long time. I absolutely love him as a footballer. And Eddie Howe mentioned it, didn't he, in the press conference that you guys were in there, that you just hope he's rusty, and he was anything but rusty. He's had a glow up, hasn't he, with his new hairstyle and his new look, and he's just his class act. He might look a bit different to the naked eye, but he looks even better when he came on, and that's just levels. I think I said levels to this game last week, Newcastle and Sunderland. There's levels to this game, and sometimes you just have to sit back and admire class and quality when you see it. And Kevin De Bruyne gave Man City that cutting edge and composure in the final third that maybe they lacked with Silva and Foden. That's what we're talking about. They lacked a bit with Silva and Foden. Newcastle United were looking at their bench, and you had Matt Ritchie and 17 defenders and a couple of goalkeepers alongside him. It's just levels to this game. Lads, thoughts, Dom?
yeah, I think you've summed it up well there. I think Newcastle probably 2 minutes away from a very good point, and us speaking very highly of everything, Newcastle being back almost, but I think the second half left a little bit to be desired, where Man City, the onslaught was always inevitable. And funnily enough, I turned to you, Liam, with 20 minutes to go, Newcastle leading 2-1, and said, would you take a point despite Newcastle leading? And you said yes, because it always felt inevitable that Man City would score. And then not only did they equalise through a good Kevin De Bruyne shot from the edge of the box, they found the winner late on, and it just that same old story. I think Newcastle, I put a stat out at the end of the game, conceded 40 goals this season, more than they conceded throughout the whole of last season, and 18 of those goals have come in the final 20 minutes of games. And it's Newcastle have a habit of finding late goals, but they also have a real habit, a disappointing habit, and it maybe affects the players mentally, of conceding late goals that actually impact results. And it's happened too many times recently, where you see Chelsea in the Cup, AC Milan, PSG in the Champions League, Liverpool earlier this season. You could probably draw a few comparisons with the Liverpool game in some ways, where Newcastle was so good in the first half, and then ultimately the substitutions, or lack thereof in this case from Newcastle, cost them in the second half, and then the opposition managing to bring on real quality wins them the game. So yeah, I thought it was a frustrating result, an encouraging performance in many ways, particularly in the first half, but that lack of options, or lack of any sort of ability to change the game from Eddie Howe, and he'll be disappointed with. It was a little bit PSG all over again, where a little bit Chelsea even in some ways, where it was almost sit back, maybe a bit too deep at times, and just hope Newcastle can hold on. And they nearly did, but ultimately the result, we won't remember this as a valiant performance. We'll remember it as a disappointing defeat at the end of the day.
Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I think the bench was the difference at the end, because I'm sad like that. I tallied up how much Man City's bench cost, and it was £261 million worth of talent, compared to Newcastle's bench, who really the only player of any value currently is probably Lewis Hall, 28 million, which Newcastle haven't paid yet. And then beyond him, it's Matt Ritchie, who was signed however long ago now for £12 million. That was the only real value that Newcastle had on their bench. And you look at it, I mean, I read it out on the live: 2 goalkeepers, 2 kids, 4 defenders, 4 fullbacks, centre half. Where's your attacking options there? And I thought that's what really let Newcastle down in the second half, because they found a way to play against City in the first half where they really got at them, and they caused the City defence a lot of problems. I mean, as I said, the first 5 minutes sort of summed it up for me. City were all over the place, and Newcastle was showing that high press, high intensity. And look, they were never going to sustain that for the full game, but they just lost that attacking outlet in the second half, and that's a real disappointing thing for me. But again, I put that down to the lack of options on the bench. In that second half, they needed Anthony Gordon to step up, and Alexander Isak to step up, but they couldn't get them into the game. Gordon, for brilliant he was in the first half, I thought was out of the game for a lot of the second half, although did have probably 2 counter-attack moments where he managed to get forward.
You'd say that about a lot of them, I suppose, couldn't you?
And then Isak was probably the same, had a couple of moments, but overall quiet. So I mean, you concede 3 goals, and it probably seems silly to sit here and go off. I thought the back 5 was immense today, but they faced so much pressure and stood up to it that ultimately it just told in the end. When you constantly having to face that amount of pressure, you just unfold. And unfortunately, yeah, they were 2 minutes away, 3 minutes away from getting a deserved point. But yeah, the difference is I thought it was the bench, and Kevin De Bruyne. His opposition, fans, his opposition, media, you've got to appreciate how top class, how good of a player he is. He is top class, and yeah, it was felt written in the script in many ways when he came on. His first Premier League appearance for 5 months after coming back from a hamstring injury. It felt like it was set up for De Bruyne to make an impact, and he certainly did that. Newcastle, as the midfielders shown in the last few games, bar probably Sunderland, well, spells of Sunderland, they present gaps to teams, and okay, Man City is a top class team, and they can almost afford to. Well, they can't afford to give Man City those gaps. Man City pick gaps against any team, not just Newcastle, and they finally got De Bruyne on in that pocket of space. And as I mentioned on the live, it was from that pocket of space where Kevin De Bruyne has drove forward and put the ball into the bottom left hand corner. An incredible finish. And then yeah, it's obviously his cross as well that's led to the injury time winner. So yeah, it's just, you can put it down to maybe could Eddie Howe have changed something. He's got players on the bench. Should he have more trust in his bench? But I think that's what it comes down to. He doesn't trust the players on his bench to bring them on to make an impact. hence why he's essentially he only made one sub in Lewis Hall. He's lacking those options that he trusts, and I think that showed today. It was a game of two benches, I thought. But as I say, I want to reflect quite positively, because we've came on here after defeats against Luton, Nottingham Forest, and been fairly critical. But in that first half particularly, I was really enthused by the fact that we've seen a Newcastle team that we recognise, and they showed everything that this team has sort of made its name for over the last couple of years under Eddie Howe. So I'll take a lot of confidence in that. I think, as I say, I think they'll be fine. I probably, you think about the next game, they're probably going to drop in the bottom half, because I don't think they'll go and get a result with Aston Villa. But I think after that, they've got a decent amount of games. They've probably got Arsenal there, I think. But I think there's lots of positives today that makes me think that Newcastle United will be fine, and they'll have a good run between probably next month at the end of the season to put themselves hopefully in a European place.
Yeah, I think the frustration really lies not necessarily in today's game, is just where was this sort of level of performance against Nottingham Forest, against Luton. There's obvious mitigating factors to that, but
play like that, they would have got a point. They would have got points.
They would have won those games probably, but now it's 6 defeats in 7, which for a team who finished 4th last season is just not, it's way off the standard, and Eddie Howe's well aware of that. But he actually said after the game, performance-wise, he doesn't think the levels have dropped significantly, but I'll probably disagree slightly. Today was the Newcastle all recognised, but Liverpool, Forest, Luton, Spurs even a month ago, it's just too far off the standard they set, which obviously injuries, lack of options on the bench have been reasons for that, but they didn't have any options on the bench today, yet was still able to put in a level of performance. Obviously didn't get the results. So yeah, I think the frustration lies in the overall sort of run of form Newcastle were on, because if they played like they did today and it finished 3-2, had the won recent games or picked up points recently, you almost forgive it. But because it comes on a run of 3 straight defeats in the Premier League, 6 defeats, now 6 defeats in 7, it just becomes that more frustrating. How could Newcastle not hold on for a point today? And when it's come down to a last minute sort of lapse of concentration at the back, it just makes it all the more frustrating, I think.
I think for me, I think we've pretty much covered all topics with regards to that game. I do have a minor criticism. I don't really want to dwell on it too much, but my minor criticism, which I think I mentioned to both you guys during that game, was, it comes to the old, everyone's heard the saying, but it's the definition of insanity idea that if you keep doing exactly the same thing over and over again, how are you expecting any different results? Yeah. And my biggest criticism of how in these games, and we are talking about top level games, we're talking about, I can only refer to the Chelsea game and PSG as big examples of this, PSG away of course, and it was the idea that just keep plugging away with the same players who, after 75 minutes, Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon's race was run. And I get there isn't any top level options that you can call upon. That's where they're really suffering. It's the top end of the pitch, isn't it? They really can't get midfielders and forwards back quick enough, especially, which I'm sure we'll come on to in a minute, as it doesn't really seem like the transfer market's going to be much of a goer between now and the 31st. Is it finish on the 31st of January? Well, whenever it is, the transfer window shuts. So my biggest criticism would be that he's seen it happen in Paris, where it invites more and more and more pressure when players, the ball just keeps coming back. Would it not be better just to throw somebody on and say, give me 45 minutes effort in 10 minutes? Just go and run about, go and press, and you might find that they're a bit looser with their positioning, not used to the way, or not in positions where they should be when the ball's here and there, and you're going to get that from Isaks and Gordons. But it just needed legs, and it needed some energy, and just a different focus. Could somebody not have come on and done that? We've seen it didn't work at Chelsea, they didn't hang on. It didn't work in Paris, they didn't hang on. They invited so much pressure in those games that eventually it told, and it's just happened again. Is there not lessons to be learned from that? I'm not going to say that Ben Parkinson could have an amazing career because I don't know, I've not seen enough of the lad, but could he not have come on for the last few minutes just to give a different point of attack and to be able to run around and pressure defenders, maybe win the odd tackle, maybe make the odd run and chase the odd dead ball that just buys an extra minute or two here and there and takes the pressure off. I don't know, I'm not an expert in this field, although I might try to talk like one at times. I just feel like if you keep doing the same thing and it isn't working, that maybe you should try something different. And I get that he doesn't trust necessarily what he's got on that bench, but if he doesn't trust what's on the bench, what the hell's the point in naming them on the bench? You may as well just name three players if you're not going to actually. There's no intention of ever using them on that bench. It's largely irrelevant to have even named them. So that's my minor frustration. I said I wasn't going to dwell on it, but I've probably chatted about it for 3 minutes. But I think that's probably a little bit of what other people might be asking as well, is that could you not try something different? Look, they put a good performance in today and they're in desperate need of support, and that support isn't looking like it's going to come, is it, Jordan?
Yeah, he was asked about the transfer window, because this will be the last time before we'll speak to him before, or maybe not actually, but basically it's the last time we'll speak to him before the last stage of the transfer window, and he was asked about transfer business. Anything going to change, and he said no, not currently. So Eddie Howe wants to strengthen. He admitted that in the press conference. He wants to go out and sign players this month, but as we've spoken about, well, as me and Dom spoke about previously on the video on Friday after the press conference, that it just sounds like the Newcastle, in terms of finances, don't have the capability to go and do it. So hopefully what Eddie Howe is banking on now is getting players back from injury as quickly as possible, which isn't always a good thing actually, because they're so desperate to get players back, or they're going to rush players back and they might break down. That's only fear I've got.
Well, they have in the past. They have. That's another minor criticism of what's happened this season, is that there is absolutely no doubt they've rushed players back to play and it's been detrimental. Just look at Joe Willock, for example.
Joe Linton.
Jacob Murphy. We've seen so many players. There's been certain other players. Dan Burn, luckily, has done a job for them and it hasn't flared up again. Sven Botman, that was a big risk. There's a lot of risks they've taken.
Isaac and Wilson have been overloaded with workload.
Isaac's world class. I would say that today, that he's world class. He just needs some support. He needs some help. He needs somebody to take the burden off him in that last 20 minutes in games. He can't play at the intensity asked for 90 minutes, neither can Anthony Gordon. There's probably very few players could. They need that support. Isak's season which has been an incredibly goal-laden, quality-laden season, is being curtailed by Callum Wilson's injury record. Newcastle United need to significantly upgrade in that department. Now, not for 1 second am I about to say that Callum Wilson needs ditched. I love Callum Wilson. I think he's a quality player and a really good backup, but he's no good to anybody on the treatment table, and it's causing problems for Isak because he's not getting the rest in games and being able to be taken out. They're having to flog him. They need to address that. It was a big oversight in the summer, in what was a poor window largely for the value that they've got this season, how much it's improved the team and the squad. That was probably the biggest oversight of them all. Not giving players like Isak and Wilson any kind of backup and respite, and it's coming home to roost now that it's a problem. I think, listening to the way Eddie Howe speaks, I think he sounds like he's desperate for that short-term fix, and it's just not going to come. A lot can change in time. I think a heavy defeat today might have focused thinking a little bit to make sure they got something. I'm not sure that kind of defeat and the performance that they put in is going to be enough to sharpen minds to say we desperately need to push something to get something done. But it's midfield as well. I mean, that midfield was excellent for 45 minutes, then started to tire when fresh bodies came in and the intensity that Newcastle played at. I don't like to see the criticism I've seen, particularly in the live, with some people. There was almost a rounding on Sean Longstaff, who I didn't think he was great today, but he wasn't particularly bad either. And you know what Sean Longstaff is? He's going to give you 100%. He's going to win tackles when he can. He's going to chase and hassle and harry. He ain't going to score you a load of goals, and he ain't going to suddenly become a world beater. He's a good part. I think somebody described it as a fetch and carry or something like that, where they said he's going to go and fetch the ball for you and he's going to try and carry it for you, but he's never going to be a match winner in a game. Bruno Guimaraes is your match winner. I thought he was excellent for 45. Then again, struggled. It's just, these lads are desperate for support, but the reality of this football club at the moment, and PSR, more commonly known, well, that's its Sunday name, profit and sustainability rules, but people often refer to it as financial fair play, is crippling this football club. And guys, this is news to you as we do this video. I promised everybody on the live that because we haven't got any football next week, we would do a little bit more of a deep dive on PSR and talk a little bit more about it. Got me a little bit
no, that's fine. We spoke to Darren Neals on and off the record, so we've got a bit more insight into PSR and FFP, and I think Newcastle wanted to get a message out, and we spoke before the game. I think quite a few Premier League clubs have wanted to get a message out about their frustrations with financial fair play and the sort of cap and ceiling it's put on a lot of clubs. But yeah, just back on today's game, I think in the midfield there was almost an irony that Calvin Phillips was an unused substitute for Man City, and he goes out celebrating the win at the end, and Newcastle are crying out for a player like him.
So, one other thing that came up in the live, and also I've seen on my Twitter comments as well, is people slaughtering Calvin Phillips for celebrating. Can I just have a comment on this? Stop being silly. The lad plays for Manchester City. He's a Manchester City player on Manchester City's bench. He's not going to not celebrate because there's a hypothetical that he might somewhere down the line join Newcastle United. Stop it. Stop with this celebration police. We've got enough with people on social media being arbiters of ticket and crowds and atmospheres. Like, oh, it's not, this atmosphere hasn't been good enough today, or this one hasn't been good enough. Just let people be, man. The lad is on the Man City's bench and he celebrates. So what? Why shouldn't he, and why wouldn't he? If I was him, I would have celebrated as well. It was a big moment and a big game in a really crucial time in Manchester City season. He'd be stupid for not celebrating. What's he supposed to sit there with? He's sitting on his hands and while everyone else is jumping around him. Let the lad be. He might never play for Newcastle United. He might turn up here in a week's time. Just because he celebrated a 92nd minute goal or whatever doesn't make any difference to anybody. But I did see a lot of that, so I thought it was worth commenting on. What we're doing now, lads? A
deep dive on FFP is the best way forward, actually, because we could sit here all night and talk about transfer windows and FFP. But yeah, I think that's a good video idea for next week. So I guess I should say stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I think we'll meet up in the week or something and see if we can pull something together on that in that respect. Right, is it that time again?
I think so.
Right, we're gonna go
kicked out.
Yeah, we're gonna get kicked out St James's Park. We're always some of the last here. Although you might hear him in the background. I do see Craig Hope wheeling around the director's box here with his selfie stick, and he's one of the grafters like your Geordie journos. Right, like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the drill. You like the comment, you like the content. We love doing it. Click the bell, and you'll get everything that we ever do. Keep an eye out for that PSR Profit and Sustainability Rules video that we will put out probably around midweek next week. Keep the support coming. Like, comment, share and subscribe for everything the Geordie journos do.